Alright, so I hope you enjoyed those videos on dinosaurs, including Gertie the dinosaur, which was originally filmed in 1915, so over 100 years old. One of the first animations that showed interactions with the live world, and it was part of a major theater show at one point with Winsor McKay, who was quite the showman as well as quite the animator. So, that being said, we've had a lot of interesting conceptions about dinosaurs throughout the ages. As you could see in some of those videos, even some exhibits where you would have dinner inside of a replica of a dinosaur. That was a fad at one point, and a very interesting one as well. Not only that in dinosaurs, but also large Ice Age mammals like mammoths. Where a full-on 5-course dinner meal would be set up on the inside of it at museums for museum parties. So, dinosaur fever. We are getting into fossils with our next project, which is great. Fossils are, of course, the preserved remains of animals that once were. And today, we are going to go through a quick lesson of how to draw a theropod skull, okay? So thero meaning wild, beast, okay, coming from the Greek word of wild beast, and pod meaning foot, okay? So wild foot, in a way, are all the dinosaurs that have the 2 legs, raptors, troodons, T-Rexes, Spinosaurus, Allosaurus, Carnotaurs, all those major predators that we think about when we think about dinosaurs with the big teeth. So, going into this, we are going to start actually near the bottom of the paper with the lower jaw first. We are not going to draw a line, but we are going to go up, though, and make sure that these 2 lines connect. So that is starting to build up how wide the mouth is. Now I'm going to go with T-Rex or Tyrannosaurus Rex for our model today. Coming up over around the top. Take a dip here, and then bring around the back of the head to connect back to where the hinge joint is. And we're actually going to draw in where the hinge joint is. So T-Rex used to live here in the United States of America and Canada. Okay, and we have learned way more about it since the 1993 movie Jurassic Park. Okay, we have learned that this animal, which we used to think was a terrifying goat-eating monster of a thing, actually may have ambushed only part of the time, and the rest of the time actually scavenged. So we're going to have a lot of what look like holes in the skull. Now, if this skull had been complete bone, it would have been way too heavy for the dinosaur to have held up. There has to be hollows in the bone called fenestras. So we're going to start with the largest fenestra that's actually right here. And you can actually see all the way through the skull to the other side with this fenestra. We're going to have smaller fenestra here. A opening for the nostrils at the front, for the nasal fenestra. And then we're going to have these fenestras at the back that are going to hold the eye and the inner ear of the dinosaur itself. So yes, these dinosaurs did have inner ears. We have found the inner ear bones of these animals. Okay. Okay, so this one has more of a triangular shape here. And this one is going to have kind of actually an ear shape to it, convenient. That's where the ear goes. And we're going to have a very small one that is easier seen from the top of the dinosaur up here, from the top of the skull. And we're actually going to have a small one here. So in the medical world, these aren't called fenestras so much when it comes to our bones. Our bones have what are called foramen in them, okay? And we have multiple throughout our own skull, okay? Because our skull is actually filled with hollows that allow us to have lighter heads as well. It's called your sinuses. So foramens usually lead into the pockets known as sinuses. And if you've ever had a sinus infection, when you have a bunch of pus and fluid built up in those sinuses, it hurts a lot because it's usually a closed off space. Alright, we're actually going to show a little bit of the other side of the dinosaur, okay, to see through. We actually can't see through the nostril because there's going to be a barrier in between the two. But all this empty space that's in here was all meant for nasal cavity usage. So all this would have been lined with mucosa that helped the dinosaur smell rotting flesh from far away. And this actually isn't the first animal to use this model. Vultures today still have actually hollow beaks with huge hollow areas to have that high sense of smell dead things up to a mile away. One of the more unique features, especially of the theropods, okay, now if you follow the tract of evolutionary thought, and I know not everyone does, and I'm not going to get into that argument today, is that birds came from theropods, okay, smaller theropods. The larger ones like this obviously didn't become chickens, but they do share some of the same features. And one of the features they do share is here where they have the orbit, or the place where the eye socket goes, is they have what's called a scleric ring. God, that's a really hard one for me to say. Scleric ring, okay? One that goes around the sclera of the eyeball itself. And it actually is a ring of very thin, plated, round bones that help the dinosaur change the size of its pupil to help it focus. And some bird species still have these rings, either in plates like this or as a solid ring, like looking at birds of prey, to help them focus in on items that are very far away. We're not going to show the other side of this because you actually see into the sinus where all the inner ear workings is. And of course, our guy is a grandma at this point because he has no teeth. So we're going to add easily 4-inch to 6-inch long teeth into here. We're not going to go all the way to the back, but we are going to fill it up to about here. What you do to one, please do to the other. Now, if you took a closer look at these teeth, you would actually see that they have tiny little serrated edges, okay, like steak knives. They're better for cutting up meat with. And I'm actually going to stop because the teeth don't go all the way back. If they did, when they close their jaws, they go am nom nom into each other's gums, and that would hurt. We're going to give a hint of what's happening on the other side of the skull, and you can do some hatch shading here. Okay, you can also add very lightly some hatches at the base of each tooth. if you ever want to see the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton has ever been found, her name is Sue, and she's found at the Field Museum in Chicago. In Chicago, if you ever need an idea for your family for a summer trip, is a very fun city to visit. Make sure you get deep dish pizza and also get the city package. So not only can you go to the Field Museum while you'll find Sue, you can also go to the Shed Aquarium, which is literally right down the street, and further down the street on the peninsula from there is the Chicago Planetarium. You can visit all of them in one day, though I recommend giving each one their own day. All right, I'm going to go ahead and shade this in as well. Now, running along all this, we're actually going to have places that the muscles attached, okay? Because to work these massive jaws, we had to have massive muscles. So we're actually going to have some pockets or muscles attached to the bone itself, okay? So they would attach to a central point down here, and a big fan-like motion to help snap it shut. Not only that, there would be muscles usually coming from behind through this hole and stringing up to the back of the dinosaur's neck to give a large, thick pit bull kind of like neck, good for thrashing around smaller prey that they did manage to get a hold of, or simply ripping apart something that is rotting. And give some texture to this, since this is fossilized bone at this point. Little pock marks. And that is how you do a basic skull of a theropod, in this case, the good old T-Rex. We will be actually making fossils and talking about the 3 different types of fossils that you can find, 3 different classifications of them. And we will be making one of each, and one will be in ceramic clay. Okay, we'll do impressions in that. But yeah, be prepared for that next time. Can't wait to see y'all then, and be good.